What is up, future rich bitches? Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to talk about 3 steps that you can take to recover from a late start to investing. And this is just a topic I should have covered a long time ago because the number one thing I hear from people is that they should have started investing earlier. So if that's how you feel, you are not alone. While we all know that we're supposed to start investing as soon as we can, a lot of us are still really late to the game when it comes to actually starting. And no matter what the reason is that you started late, that doesn't really matter. And I know that now you're probably just filled with anxiety every time you see one of those charts that talks about how rich the 20-year-old investor is going to get compared to the 30-year-old investor. And then you feel like, I don't know, maybe you just kind of missed the mark and there's no hope for you. But I'm here to tell you that there is hope, and if you're starting to invest in your 30s, no worries. With these 3 steps, you will be able to start investing, maximize your returns, and become a millionaire before retirement. So step number 1 is to stop putting investing off. So while, yeah, it's super sad that you could have made a lot more money if you had started this 10 years before, it is time to move the fuck on. So now that we've gotten that out of the way and you are ready to make some progress, it is so important that you start to invest immediately. And that's because if you're 30 and just starting now, think about how far behind you already feel compared to the 20-year-old and how much further behind you're going to be at 40 if you keep putting this off. And let's put this into context with some numbers, okay? So if a 30-year-old starts investing $100 a month every month from the time that they're 30 until they're 60, they will have about $226,000, assuming the average return on the S&P 500 of 10% per year. So let's compare those earnings of $226 to the amount that you'll have if you keep putting this off and wait until you're 40. And if you do that, if you invest the same $100 a month from 40 to 60, then you'll only have $76,000 at 60. So that is significantly less than the 30-year-old investor, and the 30-year-old investor will actually only end up contributing $12,000 more of their own money to this and make hundreds of thousands of dollars more than you will if you put this off till 40. So while I totally get wallowing in your sorrows about all of the earnings you could have gotten if you had started investing sooner, there is no better day to start than today, and 40-year-old you is going to be really happy that you decided to not make their life a lot harder. So to help you out and get started, I am going to put a link in the description box below to a post we did on how you can get started with investing today and the easiest way that you can invest and become the laziest investor and never have to put in a whole lot of work. So if you haven't started investing yet, lazy investing is probably perfect for you, so definitely make sure to check that out. Step number 2 is to stop trying to be debt-free. And debt freedom is absolutely great, but not if you're foregoing investing to become debt-free. And I know that a lot of information out there is going to tell you that the first thing that you need to do is become debt-free, but this is terrible, terrible financial advice. And the problem with this approach is that the earnings that you could make from investing your extra money instead of putting it toward paying off your debt sooner are way, way higher than the amount of money that you're going to save on interest by paying off your debt a few years earlier. So let's break this down a little bit. In this scenario, you have 2 options. Your first one is to invest your extra money, and the second one is to pay off your debt sooner. So let's say that you have $100,000 in debt and your interest rate is 3.5% and it's a 15-year loan. So in this scenario, your payment is probably going to be around $700. So you calculate then, okay, if I pay $700 for 15 years to pay off this loan, I'm going to end up paying $29,000 in interest over this 15 years. And you are like, I do not want to pay that much. So you decide, okay, well, I'm going to start paying $1,000 a month instead of just the $700 and put an additional $300 toward this payment so that I can pay it off quicker. And then I'm only going to end up having to pay $18,000 in interest, which is a savings of $11,000. And that is great. I'm happy with that. And that works for my budget. So yay, let's do that. And while $11,000 is a great savings amount, let's instead take a look at what you could make if you had invested that $300 a month instead of put it toward paying down your debt. So if for these 15 years of your loan, you instead allocated that extra $300 to an investment account and received a 10% annual return, which is about the average return of the market, then you would have $70,000 at the end of that 15 years. So the choice is clear if you ask me. Are you going to take $70,000 or a savings of $11,000? Like if someone was like, oh, I'll give you $11,000 or I'll give you $70,000, you would always pick $70,000. This is the exact same scenario. So by funneling all of your extra cash to pay off your debt sooner, you're foregoing those incredible earnings that you could have over that same time period. And not to mention that even after that 15 years, you can leave that money invested and continue to make even more money off of it. So to me, this is just a no-brainer. If you want to be able to invest and have a retirement and hit those goals that you missed by not investing earlier, stop trying to be debt-free, stop putting all of your extra money toward paying off debt, and instead pay your minimum payments and then funnel all the rest that you can into investments. Step number 3 is to not take on any more debt. And so I know that, now that you don't have to be debt free, it can become really tempting then because you can afford the minimum payments of some stuff to start accumulating more debt because, oh, well, you can afford the minimum payment. But that is the opposite of what you want to do if you want to try and recover some of those lost earnings that you would have had if you started investing earlier. And that's because debt payments are financial obligations. So that means that no matter how much money you're bringing in, lose your job, have variable income, your savings is depleted, whatever it is, the bank wants you to pay them those minimums. So the more of these payments that you keep stacking up, the more of your money is tied up trying to pay all of that off instead of being able to allocate it towards your investments. And remember how we talked about the 30-year-old investor's earnings being way higher than the 40-year-old investor's earnings? So that's great. And the 30-year-old's going to earn $226,000 by investing $100 a month for 30 years. But if you had started at 20, which I know I'm going to make you feel bad now, then the 20-year-old would make $632,000, again would only contribute $12,000 more of their income and would make $406,000 more than the 30-year-old. So if you want to catch up to those 20-year-olds' earnings, you're going to have to really up your contributions from that $100 a month. So if you're starting to invest at 30 and you want to end up with $632,000 at 60, you're going to have to contribute $280 a month instead of $100 a month. So that's almost 3 times what the 20-year-old has to contribute to hit the same amount of earnings. So that money's got to come from somewhere. So where on earth are you going to find 3 times the amount of money? So an incredibly easy way to do this is to take your old debt payments when you pay off debt and start funneling them into your investment accounts instead of using them as spending money. So a really, really easy way to look at how you can do this and what your timeline for earnings is to use a loan payoff calculator. And I will link the blog post in the description box that will give you links to all of these things. So you can use this loan payoff calculator and figure out when you're going to pay off your loans. And then you can use an investment calculator to figure out, okay, if in 5 years I can allocate X number of dollars into my investments, then how does that change the trajectory of my earnings? So let's again look at some numbers because I think this can be really confusing. So let's say that you have 2 loans that you have left to pay off. One is for your car and one is for your student loans. And for both of these, the interest rate is going to be 3.5%. So for your car loan, you have $7,000 left to pay off and a $300 a month car payment. And then for your student loans, you have $16,500 left to pay off and your payment is also $300. So for your car, it's going to take you 2 years to pay off your balance. And for your student loans, it's going to take you 5 years to pay off your balance. So let's say you're 30 and you start contributing that $100 a month every month for the next 2 years until you pay off your car. Over those 2 years, earning a 10% annual return, you'll have about $2,600 in your investment account at the end of those 2 years. So then At the end of the 2 years, you've paid your car off, and now you have $300 extra that you can start funneling into this investment account. So you start contributing $400 a month instead of the $100 a month. And you do that for the next 3 years until you pay off your student loans. So at the end of that additional 3 years, so 5 years total into your investment journey, you're 35 now, then you will have about $20,000 in your investment account, again, earning about a 10% annual return. So let's say you just continue with that $400 a month contribution to your investments until you're 60. At 60, you'll have earned $775,000. So that's awesome. Finally, you beat the 20-year-old investor. So congrats. But if instead you had taken that additional $300 that you had been paying toward your student loans and put that into your investments as well and started contributing $700 a month, then you would have $1.17 million by 60. So while I know the charts and graphs are scary, you do not have to start investing as an infant in order to become a millionaire, live your dream retirement, and make tons of money. You just really need to be strategic about how you do it. And with this, you don't have to budget anything. You don't have to become frugal. You just have to plan out how you're going to find that extra cash that you need to start funneling into your investments. Your lifestyle can remain the same as it is right now, and you can still become a millionaire. So I hope this helped you be less fearful about getting a late start to investing and being able to reach your retirement savings amount. If it did, please make sure to give this video a like. I want to be a rich bitch just as much as you, and that really helps me with the algorithm. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to learn about the ways that you can start investing, building generational wealth, and becoming a millionaire. I release a new video every Saturday, so in just 15 minutes a week, you can build your financial literacy and be on your path to becoming a rich bitch. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you soon. Bye.